Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So there's some pretty big news coming from New York Attorney General Letitia James' office today. They found that almost 18 million fake comments were submitted in regard to the net neutrality issue that came up in 2017. And over 500,000 fake letters were sent to Congress regarding that same issue. In fact, the fake comments accounted for 81% of all the comments submitted regarding net neutrality. So if you're not familiar with this, if you maybe live in another country or you just haven't paid attention necessarily to something as boring as net neutrality, here's what this is all about. Obama set up rules during his last term, which prevented internet companies from charging extra money so that all of us could access all information on websites and throughout the internet. Basically, without net neutrality laws, internet service providers, broadband service providers could slow down or speed up the load time for some websites, or they could hide them entirely, depending on how much that company is willing to pay to be seen. So you see how that could be manipulated and used in a very unfair, egregious manner. Especially, it is unfair to small business owners whose websites could be hidden, or it could be so slow to load their page, to bring up their website, that you just give up and move on. And that could be used by these broadband companies to help bolster other large corporations that maybe they have a relationship with, or maybe they have an ownership position in, right? Or companies who are willing to pay them a lot of money. So it allowed them, without these net neutrality laws, meaning that the internet would be neutral and everyone can see everything and everything loads at the same speed, it allowed internet companies and their allies to manipulate us. They could manipulate everything: what we eat, what we drink, what we think, how we feel, our political parties, you name it, by blocking access to certain content and only allowing us to see or have access to what they choose for us. So this is a monumentally important decision, because I don't know about you, but I don't trust broadband companies. I don't trust any corporation to make decisions for me. And even though 75% of Republican voters strongly supported net neutrality laws and a fair and equal internet, Republican lawmakers whose palms are greased by some of these companies wanted to get rid of these laws. They wanted to revoke them. Trump took up the mantle as soon as he took office, and he installed an industry shill to head up the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. It was a man named Ajit Pai. Pai immediately began the process of repealing Obama's net neutrality laws. And as part of that regulatory process, they opened up comments to the public. So you could go on their government website and you could weigh in and submit your comment. So here's where Attorney General James comes in. They started receiving complaints, and people were reaching out to them saying, hey, something doesn't seem right, or my name was used for this petition, or my name was added to this government website and I didn't put it there. I didn't make this comment. So they started investigating. This has been going on since then. This has been going on for years. And she found that 8.5 million fake comments were solicited and paid for by some of the largest broadband companies in the United States. She called it part of a, quote, secret campaign to manufacture support for the repeal of existing net neutrality rules. She does point out that there's no evidence that the broadband companies knew that they were paying for fraudulent comments. They believe that they were getting legitimate comments. But she said that they did drop the ball on oversight and they failed to notice red flags. Whether that was intentional or not, I guess we'll never know. So here's how it all went down. It appears that these broadband providers paid companies to generate leads online. However, that's not even how it went down. They also made it appear as though the comments that they generated were coming from advocacy groups. So it appeared that it was like grassroots support, like we the people were against these net neutrality laws. But according to the AG, these lead generation companies even lied to the broadband companies that were paying them millions and millions of dollars for this service, because the lead generation companies falsified all of the comments that they generated. So they didn't just trick people into leaving a comment for something that they didn't believe in. They actually faked all of them. As laid out in the AG's report, some of these lead generation companies use names and addresses that they either purchased or somehow collected months to years prior with unrelated lead generation campaigns. So they would place ads, let's say on Facebook or somewhere else on the internet, somewhere, on a website that you visit, and you click on it because you think that you are getting some deal. Like they were offering, one of the examples is they were offering Disney movies for only $1.99 each. There was another one that had a male enhancement product of some sort for free. So you click on that and you enter your information, you enter your name and your address to get these goodies, to get these things for free or cheap. And then they collect that information. So they were using information that they gathered on other campaigns that had nothing to do with the internet and net neutrality, and they were using them to post fake comments in this instance. And one lead generation company even used stolen names and information. They used names and information that had been collected in a data breach. And then someone took that data breach information and posted it online. So they were literally using stolen names and addresses and then falsifying, making up some sort of BS comment. The AG's report went on to say that, quote, in all, 6 lead generators funded by the broadband industry engaged in fraud. As a result, nearly every comment and message the broadband industry submitted to the FCC and Congress was fake, signed using the names and addresses of millions of individuals without their knowledge or consent. So that's huge. Almost every comment was fake. The AG also discovered that one single 19-year-old college student from California was responsible for over 7.7 million fake net neutrality comments. Now, this guy was actually in favor of net neutrality laws, so he wanted to keep the laws as opposed to the broadband companies. So I guess he, in some sick way, offset the damage done by their fake lead generators. And the other difference is the information he used was created with computer software. So the names and addresses that he provided with these fake comments were all fabricated. He didn't actually steal or misuse real people's identities. They also discovered another 1.6 million pro net neutrality comments. So the same as this kid, they were in favor of the net neutrality laws. And these were fake as well, but they haven't yet determined where those comments came from. They don't know the source. What they also found is that 3 of the 6 lead generation companies that were used by these broadband companies were also involved in more than 100 other campaigns to generate comments for proposed legislation or rule changes. These grifters apparently generated over 1 million fake comments for proposed rules that involve the Environmental Protection Agency, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, and the Federal Communications Commission. On top of that, they generated over 3.5 million fake digital signatures for letters and petitions that were sent directly to lawmakers and other government officials regarding other proposed legislation. So they used the same playbook. They just copied and pasted names and addresses that they had obtained from other sources, and without the knowledge or consent of these very real people. So this is just another attack on our democracy. Lawmakers especially rely on public opinion when they're considering how to vote on a proposed bill. And I know you're probably laughing and saying, oh, sure they do, Gina. I mean, yeah, of course, their donors do play an outsized role in how they vote, depending on who the lawmaker is. But they also want to remain in office, and they know their donors only make up so many votes, right? You know, of course, they want to keep grifting. They want to keep investing in stocks using their insider knowledge. So they want to remain in office. So when thousands or potentially millions of comments are rolling in, telling them to vote yes or vote no, they're going to weigh that decision. I started wondering, you know, we see such a disconnect in our lawmakers nowadays. So I started wondering, how big of a problem is this? How widespread is this issue? I mean, could it be that maybe in some way these fake comments are more prolific than we believe or know? That they're used more often than we even had a clue? And maybe they play a part in why lawmakers seem so out of touch and out of step with what the American people want. Maybe they're getting thousands of fake comments from companies like this that are backed by these industry shills. Are they getting illegitimate public feedback, or do they just not care? Do they just not give a damn about what we want? So it's something to consider, and I hope they'll widen their investigation to look into that, a more of a granular level and in, you know, state and city level. As for these lead generation companies, the New York Attorney General filed charges against them, and 3 of the 6 have entered into settlement agreements, which I find to be bullshit. They range from $150,000 to $3.7 million. No. Sorry, somebody should be going to jail for undermining our democracy. And they basically stole people's identity, and then they used it for their own purposes. If you or I stole someone's identity or impersonated someone else for our own gain, we would likely face jail time. And these victims clearly feel violated. They submitted comments, and some of them were really heartbreaking to read. Many of them said that either their deceased parent or a deceased spouse's identity was used. One woman said that she had just lost her husband the previous year after he had a long battle with cancer. And she said, quote, "This unlawful act adds to my pain that someone would violate his good name." I don't know when people are going to realize it's not working for us. Capitalism, there are too many holes in the cheese. They're selfish, they're self-centered, they're greedy bastards. And there's just nothing that they won't do to keep their power and their money. It's sick. We have a sick system. If I hear any more, guys, I'll let you know. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.